Hey guys. Hey Donna. Hey Jay. I am going to wait just a second because I didn't let you guys know that I was going to go live, but let me fix my hair. I was out shopping today and my hair got all windblown. Wednesday can't come soon enough. Hey Sharon. I thought I'd jump on here and talk to you guys a little bit about why you need to declutter and have a garage sale. Oh my gosh. Just making some notes. Hey Sandra. Hey Brenda. Hey Mary. Thank you. I'm so excited about my garden. I am so excited about it. Now that I have like these plants, what do they call those? I always forget. The anchor plants, or some, not all, in there, then now I get to create with all the other things. So like more perennials, and it just makes it easier to design. So good. Hey Mary Porter, Mary Matthews. Hey Sandra. Oh, I'm so excited about all of it. So excited about all of it. And the funny thing is I'm not a professional gardener by any stretch of the word. I'm just your typical everyday person who wants a gorgeous garden. But I learned so much through videos, and it's just so great to watch other gardeners in their gardens, on YouTube or what have you, and you get to see what they do that you wouldn't want to do, or what they put in and they don't want to put in, and all that kind of stuff. And for the longest time, I thought, it's just such a small garden. I don't really have, anything fun to share with anybody because it's not very fun. But it's actually super fun to create in that small space, So, yeah. Hey, Leonore. So actually super fun to create in that small space. And I think compact gardens are a little bit more interesting, more fun to create in, because you have to really think about placement. You have to really think about size. You have to think about all of those things. And I am, if I had a gardening channel, it would probably be the Cluttered Gardener because I just want everything in the garden to touch. Like, I don't want there to be any dirt. And, this is I would say my second year, like truly digging into the garden, but it's the third year, really. The first year really wasn't anything. It was just putting some things in the garden, like trees and that kind of stuff. But this is like the first year where I feel like I have a garden. And I think it's because a lot of the things I put in the last 2 years are coming back, and it's just so much fun. So everybody talks about that, about our grass. Ernie does a great job keeping our grass beautiful. He's just so good. But I wanted to talk to you guys, not about gardening, which we can still talk about because it's so much fun, but about the decluttering. Somebody out there needs to hear this. And I was talking to Ernie, and I was saying all these things to him, and he goes, "You need to share that with your audience." And I said, "Yeah, I will. I'll go live and I'll share it with them," because something happened with, doing all of this. And I wouldn't say that I'm completely clutter-free in my home. There are still some things, I can still fine-tune it for sure. And I will. But it's most certainly manageable now. It's not in any way, shape, or form, overwhelming at all. And it took a minute to get to this space. So if you've been a follower of mine for a long time, you've heard me talk about emptying that room and wanting to turn it into a bunk room for the longest time. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around decluttering it, because I touched on this, I think, in the videos about how, I had spent money on all of that stuff. It was all my stuff I had spent money on, and I had every intention of creating a beautiful, home using every single thing that I bought. And through that declutter, I actually realized that I was not designing my home the way I want it. I was decorating my home. And I think a lot of that, by no fault of anybody's, was basically for YouTube. And somewhere along the way, I just felt like I was having to create these videos when really I wasn't in touch with anything that I was doing. Meaning, it really wasn't, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, would I have done some of the things that I did? No. I think this room that I'm in right now is probably the one room in the house where it was all me. Like, I love everything in here. As you can see, I haven't changed a darn thing. And that is because I went through the steps of really designing this room and, coming up with how I wanted this opening to look, and I wanted the shelves to look, and where I wanted sconces, and the purpose in the room, how, what was the room gonna, be used for, and all of that stuff. And so I went through all the steps. And so I haven't changed a thing in here except for switching the furniture. The only thing I didn't do is take Ernie up on his offer of buying all new furniture for in here. So, anyways, I feel like, I have been really, for YouTube purposes, trying to create these videos in hopes that one of them would hit, or what have you. And I was really taking my lead from a lot of the other YouTubers here on YouTube. I was taking my lead, meaning I was watching these videos and watching these women, decorate rooms or, spaces, or for holidays, or for all of those things, and, spending the money and doing it, and they were getting great views. And so, I've kind of realized that this obsession with, wanting to have this, I'm trying to say this in a very sensitive manner, because I have a YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel is growing. It's growing organically. I'm very close to hitting 18,000 subscribers. I wanted 20 by my birthday, which is the day after Easter. That's not going to happen, but I got darn close, because I was in the 16,000 something when I said that. So I'm very proud of myself for that. And there is a definite line where you just start your channel. I don't know. Well, I guess I'm assuming there are some people who start their channel to create a income for their household. That's not why I started mine, but I'm assuming there are people out there who do that. And that just wasn't me, but there's definitely a line that you hit with YouTube where you start a channel for me, because it's a great way for me to make friends, and it keeps me occupied. It taps into my creativity, and just have a great time doing it. And it's something for me to do as an empty nester. But then you get monetized, and and I guess that's just the natural human in us, where we just we want to challenge ourselves and see how far can we take this. So there's that. And so I think that's where I got into the trap of wanting to create these videos where, they were going to, people are going to just love them, and I was going to get all these views. And I'm just being completely transparent and honest with you guys. And so after a couple of years of doing that, I created a problem, and the problem was stuff. And so I had this room full of stuff that I had spent money on with good intention. It wasn't just, I wasn't just going out there and just throwing stuff in my cart without even thinking. I had thoughts behind everything. But the problem with that is when you when you add in the factor of creating a video, good content, somewhere along that line, you lose who you are. What is your personality? And if I'm going to be honest, I've struggled with that my entire YouTube career, the last few years. And I've talked to Ernie about this, and I've said to him, I don't feel like people care about my style, and what that means is I don't think that people can relate to it, because it's not the viral style that everybody's doing. It's not, the Target, what is that brand that everybody, 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮, that's not, it's me. This is me. This is my house. And he said, you just keep doing what you're doing and you're going to find your people. And I found all of you guys, and you guys are awesome. And I don't think that, and I don't ever intend to share something thinking, oh, I want you to go out and find, I expect you to love it so much you're going to go out and find these prints that are above my, my computer, or recreate this or whatever. Maybe some people will, I don't know. But with all of that, what has happened is I ended up with this room in this house filled with stuff. And so we had the garage sale on Saturday. And we woke up at 5:30 in the morning because garage sale was at 7. And all I had to do was, Ernie just brought everything down that I had done in my second declutter that I didn't have room for downstairs. He brought it down. We got that driveway filled. Okay. And I'm sitting in the chair drinking my coffee, and I'm looking out at the driveway. My driveway is big enough to fit 4 cars. That's how long it is. And it's filled, all down both sides. And I'm looking at it, and I said, oh my God, that was cluttering my house. That was like taking up room, not only visual space, but mental space, right? Because when you have clutter in your home, if you're anything like me, it's hard to look past, like you can clean your whole house, but darn well that you have that closet or that room or that tub or whatever it is, and it's just filled with stuff that you're not using. It leaves a heavy feeling, And so I had this thought, and I was telling Ernie, I said, wow, this is a hard lesson. A really hard lesson, because I didn't feel, now when I have garage sales, I just get rid of things. I don't put value in those items. I don't say, oh, I paid $40 for it, so I'm going to take 30. I don't do that. A matter of fact, every person that came to my garage sale and purchased something was like, wow, that's a deal, because that's how I get rid of things. When I'm ready to purge, I purge. And, I do get, maybe in our early days when I was a very young mom, there were times that I had garage sales to make money. And, of course, as I got older, it's to get rid of clutter. So the money isn't an issue. Is it nice to get money? Yes, absolutely, 100%. But I'm not trying to get rich off of garage sale. So people got some really great deals. And we started at 7, and by 10 o'clock we were done. And we did still have things in the driveway, not a ton, a carload. And we drove it over to the Garden Patch thrift store where I love to go thrifting, and we donated everything. So all the clutter is gone out of my house. Everything is gone. It was either sold or donated on Saturday. And when I got in the car with Ernie, I said, that was a really hard lesson to learn. It was, I couldn't even watch the stuff. I couldn't even watch the stuff get taken out of the car to be donated, even though I needed it done, it needed to happen, all of that's logical, all the logical things. But it was a really hard lesson because it made me realize the mindless shopping that I did. And there was no intention. And so behind some of that stuff, there was intention. That's not true. I'm mincing words here. There was intention to create a beautiful home. But what I was finding myself doing was buying something because it was beautiful. And because I always say this, surround yourself with things that are beautiful. And with things that you love, and it'll be beautiful. I always say that, and I stand by that. But I've always envied the people who are slow. They're slow at making decisions. They're slow at what they do. They're slow in decorating their space. And, and then they end up with a beautifully designed space, and they take their time. I've always envied that. I'm a super impatient person. I have zero patience, was not born with it. Don't even know what it feels like to be patient. So it's a behavior I'm trying to learn, because I believe you can teach old dogs new tricks. And that is a new trick that I'm most definitely going to train myself to be. So with the loft and with the now empty, almost empty home decor room, I have pretty much a blank slate. Ernie and I, already know what we're doing with the loft. And am I going to have to make purchases for that? Yes. But am I going to have to make decor purchases? No, because I saved the things that I know are going to go in that room, because I like what's in that room. I just don't like some aspects of that room. We talked about that in I believe it was my first declutter video. And so I'm going to be patient with that. I have a tendency to let a lot of the comments on my videos put me in a panic mode to hurry up and do things. And I'm not going to do that anymore. For instance, I've gotten a lot of comments about the country house. When are you starting at the country house? When are you starting at the country house? We've kind of started at the country house, and that's coming. But we live in this house. This is our home. We live here. That is our second home. We do not live there. So with the cost of everything right now, we have to be very careful at where we're putting our money. Okay, so let me just put it that way. Gardening, very expensive this year. Very expensive this year. I'm not Laura from The Garden Answer. I do not have a free account with proven winners, and my parents don't own a garden center, which I wish I had those things, but I don't. If I did, I would be in the garden every day, all day. Bottom line, but I don't. And so I have to, things cost money. And then I have life too to do. For instance, I have my 14-year-old grandson sitting over there. We're hanging out today. He's on his phone, but we went shopping today. We went to lunch. It was his birthday shopping trip. We went to lunch, and we're just hanging out. And I told him, I'm going to go live on YouTube. And he's like, that's fine, because, so anyways, we did our shopping trip today, and, and that's important to me to have that kind of time and spend the money in those kind of places. So important to me. So if I die tonight, I die a happy grandma, because I put a huge smile on that boy's face today. And that's all you could ever want, right? As a grandma. So anyways, let's see. I'm sorry. Let me just read some of the comments. I'm sorry. I don't want to look down, but my camera's up here, and you guys your comments are down here. You guys are so sweet. Yeah. Mary, you are so right. It frees you up in a way when you declutter, but my lessons that I learned from this decluttering, because I think that if I didn't really, if I just decluttered to declutter my house and I didn't put the thought behind the decluttering, how did I get myself in that mess? How did I get myself to need to declutter at such in such a massive, like there was so much stuff. What did I do to get me there? If I don't analyze that and think about that, I'm going to do it all over again. So I think that it's super important that when you're going through a decluttering process, and it could be something simple, it could be, I just need to declutter my kitchen. You know, when you're going through that decluttering, you really need to stop and think, how did I get here? How did these things end up in my kitchen? How did they end up cluttering all these cabinets? You know, what is my obsession with kitchen items or whatever it is, you know? I really had to think about this because I do not want this to ever happen again. Ever happen again. It was an expensive mistake that I've been creating for the past couple years, 2.5 years or so. And you know, and I know that because I know how much my trips every time I would go out shopping would cost. I don't want to add them up, but I would buy the things, I would decorate the area, and then I wouldn't like it after a while. And that, you know, that's an expensive mistake. But aside from that, there was the clutter of my life. So I know that a few of you guys can relate to paper clutter. I've told you guys this a million times that I cannot stand paper clutter. I don't like paper clutter. If I walk into somebody's home and I walk past their office or their kitchen island or whatever, and they've got stacks of paper and mail and all that, I immediately get anxiety from it. It gives me anxiety, paper clutter. Why home decor doesn't do that to me, I don't know. But I'm trying to train myself so that happens. So with the loft, which we're going to do first, obviously not this week because, you know, it's Easter week and I've got a lot to do this week. With that, I am being very patient. And, you know, I need to be patient with that room. I need to be patient with every room that I do from now on. Even with the country house, I need to be very patient about everything because I do not want to make the same mistakes all over again. I do not want to spend $5 or $50 on something that's only going to last for a month before I don't like it anymore. I want to make sure that my design is spot on. And that's going to take time, you know? So rather than hurrying up and whipping out videos, I'm going to figure out a way to share these room makeovers with you guys in a gradual way, in real time. You know what I mean? So you may not get a full room makeover all in one video. You may be, you know, I may be cleaning the house with you and getting a room painted in that video. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to share with you guys, and you guys know that I love to share in real time life with you guys. And I think it would be really good to share the length of time that in reality that it takes somebody to accomplish this, as opposed to sharing a 25-minute or 35-minute video with you saying it took, you know, a month or what have you. You know what I mean? I want to take you guys through the process of what it takes like to design a room as opposed to decorating a room. I don't want to be stuck with, you know, with a room that I created for a video that I like, but I didn't really design. You know what I mean? Like this room, when I walk into this room, I love everything in here. I love it. I love this room. I love all my, you know, other than the fact that I need to put greenery still plants in my pots, which I haven't done yet. Other than that, I like this room. And, this back here, my hydrangea pictures are fabulous, but I think I still want one big picture, but I'm not shopping for that right now. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm leaving that the way it is. I still have the table. Oh, wrong side, that one, which is going to go upstairs in the loft. I just have it there because I'm toying with the idea of a table right there. I'm not really sure. So I love my entryway. I do love having a bench. I love having a piece of artwork here. And I do believe I do like having a little table there. Not that one, but that's just, I'm toying with it and seeing how I like it. I'm teaching myself patience. So is that exactly, well, let me move out of the way. Exactly the way I want it? No. But I'm being patient with it. I'm being patient with it. So I'm not letting, the fact that I have a YouTube channel make me hurry up and get that area done. This is what I needed to do to see if I like, and I do love having a bench in my entryway. I do. I really do. I love it so much. So yeah, and this is all repurposed except for the bench and the light. Everything else is repurposed from my house. So I love the hydrangea pictures, but I still believe that I want one big picture there. And I haven't found it. And I'm not there yet anyways. So it's fine the way it is right now. But the loft, the loft is not going to cost a lot of money for what we're doing. It is going to take some work. The two things we didn't sell, or three things I should say, at the garage sale is the rug upstairs and the two end tables, because I told Ernie, I said, I don't want our guests, my son and daughter-in-law, to come and the whole upstairs is going to be all torn apart, so that we left that for the time being. I can always sell that on Facebook Marketplace or what have you, when the time comes. But I'm getting curtains for up there. I'm getting a new rug for under my cowhide and two new end tables. And that's it. That's all I'm buying. But the way we're going to arrange the furniture and what we're doing to the walls is going to make a huge impact, and it's going to change that room completely, and it's going to finish it, and it's going to be good. So we just really have not had the time to sit down and shop together. We already know the design, we share pictures back and forth together and all of that. I really want to do it right. So I'm taking my time, and we're going to do the same when we get to the bunk room for the grandkids too. So, so all of that's coming. But like I said, I really think that sharing it in real time with you guys is going to be key, because I don't want, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. Hey, Carrie. Oh, she's cleaning her garage. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Yes. Well, Susan, it should take, if you declutter right, it should take you 2 or 3 times. That's to be perfectly honest. I don't believe that anybody can do a proper declutter in one round, because you have to get rid of the initial clutter to go back and see, let your mind rest on that for a minute, and then go back, and you freed up space now to where you can go, maybe I don't really want that, or what is, so this is, and I don't remember, I have to go back and watch my video to see if I talked to you guys about this, but well, the home decor room was pretty easy to declutter. I mean, I hadn't used a lot of that stuff. It had just been sitting in there collecting dust. So that was a pretty easy room to declutter. When I did that, when I did that before in California, what I would do when I would go shopping is I would pick an item up and I would say, oh, I really like this. And then I would say, where is it going to go? Like, exactly where is this going to go? And figure that out. And if I could not decide where it was going to go, as soon as I got home, I didn't buy it. I just didn't buy it. And that lasted me for a good long while in California. And then I got back into the habit of not doing that here when we moved here. And part of that is YouTube. And part of that is new home, right? You know? So, hey, Deborah. Yeah, the mindless shopping. Yeah. Hey, Ann, you're not late. You're not late at all. So, Aiden,
Yeah.
can you bring Letha some water, please?
You want ice?
No ice, my love. I have a frog in my throat. We have allergies. High pollen alert. So anyways, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want Letha to get off or are you good?
I'm all good.
Okay. We've been hanging out all day. Haven't we, my love?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Yay, Rose made it. Okay. So anyways, thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
Okay. So let me hone this back in again. So when you are going to do a declutter of your home, you can, if you have a room like I did, where you just know everything in the room's got to go, it's kind of easy. But even in that declutter, I still left things behind that I wasn't sure about. And so I did the second declutter. And then I left you guys with that one shelving unit left, and it still has stuff on it. I haven't placed that stuff anywhere. So a third declutter is going to be needed. But I needed to rest my mind. I needed to rest my mind. And so I'm not rushing through that either. And it's only because it's easier, I think, for us to make up excuses on why to hang on to some things while we're letting go of a lot of things. And then, you know, we can come back and revisit and do that all over again. And then sometimes we need to do it all over again too. But what this has done for me is it has just made me do that. I mean, to know that my garage is decluttered, and it looks good out there. But I don't have my car parked in the garage right now because we're building some stuff out there for an upcoming video for outside. It's my birthday present, FYI, for my back patio. So that's exciting. We're going to be putting that together, and I'm filming it for you guys. It's going to be good. So I'm excited about that. But and it wasn't a mindless purchase. Just have to throw that in there. I've been wanting it for a very long time. So when Ernie said, just get it, it's your birthday present, I was like, okay. So I got it. So I'm very excited. And that back patio, I wanted it done before my kids came from for Easter, because it's Easter and hopefully the weather will be great. We'll be able to sit outside. I'm very excited about that. But what it did for me was my garage is decluttered, my attic is decluttered, my upstairs is decluttered. There's no more stuff. There's stuff everywhere. And it's got to be the most freeing feeling ever to have that, where I don't have, other than holiday decor, which I talked to you guys about how I wanted to go through that. And after this declutter, what I've decided to do is just continue to decorate for my holidays upcoming. And as I go through those tubs to decorate, I will declutter at that point, because I'm exhausted from the declutter and the garage sale. I mean, it took me days to get the upstairs bedroom done. And then I did the garage, and then I planted gardens. You guys, I was exhausted after the 2 weeks of all of that. So exhausted that I think Ernie and I went to bed at 8:30 last night because it finally hit me. Like everything hit me. And I think it was because the garage sale was over. We had went yesterday to go donate everything. And we came home, and at it was even earlier than 8 o'clock. I was sitting on the sofa and I couldn't keep my eyes open. It like all just hit me at once. And I think it was just really the relief of everything I was working so hard towards, like the declutter part, because it plays a mental game with you. Your mind plays a mental game with you when you're going through declutter. And I know that some people are very flippant about it, that it's just a declutter, no big deal. That's not true. It's not true. People have a hard time decluttering items because they spent money on that item, Sometimes people have clutter because things were given to them and they hold on to memories of those items, and so there's a lot of mental anguish that comes along with the declutter, so when I see these videos, like I'm decluttering my whole house, I'm like, how the hell? How the hell? And how are you doing that? Like there's no possible way. You are just decluttering your whole house. No big deal. Okay. And so, I think I don't think it's talked about enough. And I think that's why people have a problem with clutter. It's just not talked about enough. Like we're not hoarders, because we know what that looks like. We see those hoarding shows, and that's a mental illness. But I think there's a little mental illness behind the clutter that we collect, Would it be easy for me to say when I walk into somebody's home who's cluttered to say, oh, they're just lazy? I could just, say that. No big deal. You're so lazy. No, it's because people literally have, mental anguish behind this clutter. And I just don't think it's talked about enough, and so these videos where I see these girls say they're walking around the house with a laundry basket, throwing stuff in there. No, it doesn't work that way. At least not for me, it doesn't, I mean, I went to Home Goods and I paid $20 for that item. If I'm not going to use it, I'm going to let it sit on my shelf and I'm going to get that $20 out of it. I don't know. It makes sense. But when I was ready to let go, a lot of it had to do with just admitting it to myself. You messed up, Anna. You messed up. You spent a lot of money on stuff that you're not using. You messed up. And you need to get rid of it. Suck it up. You need to get rid of it. Because every day I was fighting it. It was a battle I was fighting constantly. Every time I thought about that room, it was constant. And so I just admitted it. I screwed up. I spent too much money on stuff I didn't need. Yeah, my love. What?
I'm going to go upstairs.
Yeah. Am I too loud?
No, you're good.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
So, I messed up. I spent too much money on things I didn't need. And I had to admit that to myself. It doesn't matter what people on YouTube think. It didn't matter what my family or friends thought or whatever. I just had to admit it to myself, and I had to let the stuff go. And then I had to figure out how to get rid of it. And that's another thing. How do you get rid of it? There was so much stuff. And I didn't have room in my garage. You guys saw my garage. It was a complete disaster. And I couldn't even bring everything I had decluttered from upstairs. And so that was wild. So I figured it out. I figured out how to do it. And then, I did the garage declutter because I said there's no way that I could do such a massive declutter upstairs and ignore that garage. So I sucked it up and I went to town on that one too, you know, and I got a lot of comments where people were like, just buy another shelving unit. No. Another shelving unit to me is like another room upstairs, another excuse or another place to put things. I don't want that. We don't need all that stuff in our life. You guys, some of you guys gave me some great tips for extra paint. So thank you for that. I did mention it to Ernie and he said, I don't know if I like the idea of having glass out there. So there's that, because a lot of you guys said to pour my extra paint in mason jars, which I think is a great idea. Maybe if I put those in a tub, right? So anyways, but I had to address that, and that needs another organization, but it's organized. I mean, Ernie's tools, that is really all that needs to be organized. And mainly because I hate that he has to go through his tool bags to find one tool. I would like for him to be able to go open a drawer and say, oh, here's the screwdriver or that wrench or whatever it is he needs. That's all out there that's, needs to be. And the tubs that are on the floor, I mentioned in the video, would it be great to have them in those racks above the garage door? Absolutely, 100%, up out of the way. The only problem with that is when I want to decorate outside and, for a holiday, all my outdoor decorations are in there. And if Ernie's not home, it's not easy for me to get up on a ladder and pull a big old heavy tub down from those racks. I would rather have them on the ground. So that's where we're keeping them. That's where they're staying. But it's perfect out there. I love it. It looks really good out there. So there's that. I'm glad, Stephanie, I'm helping. I'm so happy that you guys are feeling motivated and all of that, because I really just honestly don't believe that the truth is told behind a lot of these decluttering videos. And it's not that anybody is intentionally lying to anybody. That's not it at all. It's just, maybe it's easy for these girls to just take a laundry basket and go declutter. Maybe it's because I'm older, I hold more value, or money means more, or I don't know what it is, but I really feel like, more needs to be talked about, you really need to assess the issue at hand before it's like your back. If your back's hurting because you're bending the wrong way every time you go out to the garden, you probably need to address that issue and figure out a better way to weed the garden than do it the way you've been doing it. Yeah, it's the same with clutter. You have to figure out why you're holding on to the clutter, or why the clutter was even created first. Then you can declutter. And you can declutter with a plan. And that's what I want to talk about next, is you have to have a plan. You got to have a plan to get that stuff out of your house. You cannot simply say, I'm going to declutter, put everything in baskets, take it out to my garage, and I'll take it to the thrift store. No. I'm going to declutter, put everything in baskets, put it in my car, and drive it to the thrift store and actually do that, or the donation center, or whatever it is. When I got everything upstairs and that I was decluttering at the top of the stairs, and then remember I got sick and Ernie put everything in that big tub for me, and he got that tub put in the garage so it was out of sight. I didn't have to, I knew it wasn't there. When I felt better, I went up there. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then I did that other declutter, and I couldn't fit anything, in the garage anymore. And I didn't want it down here. So I just put it in the corner in the loft upstairs. And I said, that's where it's going to stay. I don't really ever go upstairs. So it was out of sight, out of mind. But I knew that was going to come downstairs when we had the garage sale. And it did. It made it out to the driveway, and it made it to people's homes, or it made it to the donation center. So I had a plan behind the declutter. So you have to have a plan to get it out of your house. You can't just move the clutter from one spot to another, you certainly have to have a plan. I do that with paper. You guys have seen me in videos where I have my stack of shredding. I do that when I feel like my paperwork is getting out of hand. I go through it really quick and I file what needs to be filed, and then I take everything that needs to be shredded and I sit down with my shredder and I just shred it. And and so it's kind of the same concept. You kind of have to have a plan. Otherwise, you're not going to ever get rid of it. Ever. It's just going to keep, regurgitating in different spots throughout your house. You need to figure it out. So thank you, Dina. You're welcome. So that is it's so important that you have that. But I'm telling you that there are so many videos out there on decluttering, and I've watched so many of them, and they don't address that issue. And you guys, and anybody who's dealing with clutter in their life right now, a cluttered attic or a cluttered room, or a clutter under their bed or in their dresser. Listen, I got to go through my closet. Okay, so that closet declutter is going to be harsh. Okay, it is going to be a harsh declutter. Harsh. I mean, I'm not going to get into it here. I'm going to get into it in the video with you guys. I think a woman's closet is probably the hardest space to declutter, because it's going to require you to be honest with yourself and to let go of things. The be honest with yourself is going to be the hard part. And we'll get into that in the video when I do it, when I share it with you guys. But the closet is going to be that's a hard one. And it's a good one. I've only done this type of declutter one other time of my clothes. One other time. And I remember how wonderful it felt. I remember how awesome it felt when I got to this, to that point. And so it's amazing. And, you can talk to some people and they'll say, but, there's one item in my closet that I will never get rid of. Never. And I'll never wash it, and I'll never get rid of it. Actually, I need to figure out a way to get it put in a frame and put it up on the wall. And that's my mother's sweater. That's the only thing I have left of my mom, is her leopard sweater that she always wore. And I have that sweater. I've never washed it. Every once in a while I go and smell it, and I swear I can still smell her in that sweater. It's hanging in my closet. I love it because when I go in there, even when my closet's a complete disaster and I spot that sweater, it brings a smile to my face. And that's the one thing I will never get rid of. It will always hang in my closet. But like I said, I think it'd be really cool to put in one of those shadow boxes, and hang it, because my mom was a tiny little thing. I mean, I got her sweater, but I would have never in my entire life fit into it, because my mom was a tiny little French woman, little petite thing, and I would have never fit into her sweater. But I think it'd be really cool to have it in a shadow box, put it somewhere in my house where I could look at it, and it'll bring a smile on my face all the time, not only when I walk in the closet. So yeah, closets are, GJ, Francisco said she has her mom's sweater also. I declutter my medicines every year. I started doing that when my kids were little. Always. Another thing people don't declutter are their salad dressings. The number one thing that is in your refrigerator, that probably the oldest thing in your refrigerator, is a salad dressing. I remember that from years ago. So I always declutter my salad dressings. I'm always very aware of their expiration dates. But I bet you, at least one of you guys on this live stream right now, can go in your refrigerator and find an old salad dressing. It's so funny. Yeah, you can't get rid of that stuff at all, Darla. Like, it's just, you can't. Yeah, my kitchen, that's easy. I don't keep clutter in my kitchen, but I spend a lot of time in my kitchen. As you guys know, I cook in there. So I like my kitchen super organized and clean. So I don't ever really, I mean, I've decluttered in my kitchen, but it's always, 3 items. It's not anything, Rose said she decluttered her pantry yesterday, and apparently she cooked a lot in 2023. It's true, but the kitchen for me has never been a sore spot where the declutter comes in, because I'm in my kitchen all the time. And because I cook, I like to have a clean, organized kitchen, and I like to know where everything is, and I like everything to have a place so that when I do clean my kitchen, I can put it where it belongs. And that's kind of how the home decor sitch was, because you wouldn't have a problem with clutter if you had a place for everything, right? So that's where, for Easter decor, because it's Easter, so I'm supposed to talk about that. You may have a tub for your Easter decor, your Christmas decor tubs, your Valentine's Day decor tubs, whatever it is that you decorate for, seasons, whatever. You have tubs for those things. So those things have a place. But as far as extra home decor, it doesn't, if it doesn't have a home living in your home, then there's no need to keep it. So that's where I was. Why do I have shelves and shelves? You guys saw it. Shelves and shelves of home decor. It didn't have a place in my home. It was just sitting on a shelf. I mean, think about that for a minute. That's wild. It's wild. I gave a whole room to my home decor. I mentally fabricated this need to house all this home decor. It was a dream of mine. It really was. I will be honest with you. It was a dream of mine to own a home decor room. I really wanted to do that. Well, I lived it, and it was no fun. So I will never do that again. Ever, ever. Jennifer! Yeah, the closet, that's an ongoing thing. Here's my dream of a closet. Here is my dream. My dream is to have a capsule wardrobe. I do not know how to create a capsule wardrobe. I do not. I need to learn how to create a capsule wardrobe. I think if I still lived in Southern California, that would be super easy. Not here. Not here. That's number one. Number two, age. A lot of my stuff that I'm holding on to doesn't fit my age. And I am a firm believer in, and you can call me whatever you want to call me, old-fashioned, whatever you want to call me, but I believe that there is a hemline associated with age. I believe that there is a dress code associated with age. I just believe that. That's my belief. I'm entitled. I don't judge. You do you. For me personally, I believe these things. So, but I've been holding on to things that they're not my age. They don't fit my age anymore. They just don't. And that's one of the hard truths that you kind of have to go down that little, you got to go down that rabbit hole when you're doing a clothing declutter. The guilty keeping of stuff. Yep, Patty. Yep. Size. I mean, for women, I touched on this in my declutter of home decor, the keeping the size 10 pants that you wore 10 years ago and you're in a size 16 or 18 now, hoping one day you're going to get into that size 10. That size 10 isn't going to just magically fit you one day. And if it hasn't in the last 10 years, it probably won't. So get rid of it. And you know what? To be quite honest, if 10 years have passed and you're still holding on to a size 10, even if you were to get down to the same weight you were when you were wearing that size 10 probably wouldn't fit you the same anyways. 10 years has gone by. You know what I mean? So, so there's that hanging on to the dream, right? And I guess that kind of fits into the home decor. If I hang on to the home decor I spent so much money for, one day it's going to make it into my home landscape and it's going to be beautiful, just like I intended when I spent the $20. But I also touched on, if it lived on my coffee, if I paid $10 for it and it lived on my coffee table for, a month, didn't I get my $5 worth? And I sold it for $5. I got my $5 worth. And that's kind of how you have to think about it. For instance, the Forever Roses that I did a collab with them and they sent me a box of Forever Roses. And Forever Roses are not cheap. I don't know if any of you guys went and looked at them when I did the collab with them 2 years ago, I think it was. They're great. I got some for my mother-in-law through them and they're wonderful. But I was hanging on to them. I didn't pay for them. It was like a $200 box. So Forever Rose is a company where they preserve real roses. And they last, it says a year, but I've had them for 2 years. And they were just as fresh yesterday when I sold them that they were the day that they sent them to me. And they looked just as beautiful. So I sold them for $5. And I told the lady, I go, they're two. I go, you can go to foreverrose.com and look at how much this cost if you were to buy it. She goes, how much do you want? I go, $5. She goes, she gave it to me. I mean, it's, but I got them for free. So I made $5. You know what I mean? So you have to let go. And I was talking to two of the women yesterday that came. It was fabulous. They were fabulous, both from California. One moved here 15 years ago. One moved here 5 years ago. And so we were talking to California. They're from the Pasadena area. So it was really cool to talk to them. She bought my bike. Yes, I got rid of my bike. And she knew Nerve, which is the company that made the bike. So that was really cool too. But anyways, I said, yeah, I go, this bike was, I go, so Nerve. I go, this is a $450 bike. And she's like, well, I sold it for $50 or $50 or $60. But I've had it for 20 years. I don't know. I've had it forever. So, and I believe you me, Ernie and I got our use out of those bikes. We used to take they're beach cruisers. So we used to take them down to the beach on the weekends in San Diego, Pacific Beach, and cruise the beach in the bay. And we got our time out. Anyways, I was talking to her about this. And I was saying how there was this woman, we bought our first brand new build many years ago. And the neighborhood decided to have a neighborhood garage sale. Everybody put their stuff out. And she had just moved here after divorce, moved to, not here, to California. She had just moved to California from Connecticut. And she did really well in the divorce. Let's just put it that way. So she lived right next door to me. And she had I loved her home. Her home was filled with super good quality, amazing furniture that she had bought in the 70s when she got married. And it still looked brand new. Very traditional, but kind of folky. You know what I mean? And she had a great sense of style. I just really love the way people in that part of like Connecticut, like that area, how they decorate. And so she had that sense. Like she had a basket. She would beg me to come help her all the time. She would beg me. Her name was Kathy, sweet little woman. And she would say, come over and help me. I mean, we adopted her. She came to Thanksgiving with us. We just adopted her. She was great. Anyways, she had this huge basket, like thick rattan, big basket. I mean, the size of a tire, like round wise, and like super tall. And it was filled with magazines, just layers and layers of magazines. How she got that to this house from Connecticut to Southern California, I don't know. Anyways, she wanted to declutter the magazines. So I said, okay, I'll come over and help you, Kathy, but you have to be willing to get rid of stuff. You know, don't waste my time. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I went over to help her. Do you think we got rid of one magazine? Every single magazine had a recipe that she wanted, and I was like, cut the recipe out of the magazine and put it in a album or a notebook or something. And she didn't want to cut the magazines up. I think she held on to everything because it was attached to the good life when she first got married. I think he was like a cheater. I don't really remember. I don't know. But so we had this garage sale, and she had, okay, on top of everything in her big, beautiful 2-story home, she had a garage jam-packed with furniture. I mean, big, beautiful bookcases and sofas, and I mean, just a ton of stuff. And I said, oh my gosh, you're going to make a killing, you know? Well, she gets everything, her and her daughter, she had 2 daughters, they get everything out into the driveway for their garage sale. Ernie and I did the same, because, you know, we all had just moved to this neighborhood, so everybody had a ton of stuff. And I was like, no, show no mercy, you know, just get rid of all of it. And I was done, literally done. I think I had 1 or 2 items left, and I just put free, and I went in the house, and I was done. She pretty much had her whole driveway still full of stuff. So she came knocking on my door, and she said, can you help me and Ernie help put everything back into the garage? So I go over and talk to her. I'm like, what happened? What happened? I go, it was like this with people shopping. And a lot of people from Mexico, because where we lived was called Chula Vista, and it was literally right next to the border of Mexico. So a lot of people would come from Tijuana to hit all the garage sales, you know, and take everything back to Mexico. And then they would resell it over there in Mexico for more money because it came from otro lado, came from the other side. And so they would get more money. So it was good money for them. But they wanted deals, you know what I mean? And so it was super easy to get rid of stuff. I mean, you have a garage sale, people are like this, and they're just buying stuff. It's super easy to have a garage sale. And I said, what happened? She's like, well, they wanted to give me this much for that. Do you know how much money I paid for that sofa? And I said, Kathy, it's 2008. And you bought that in 1975. You got your $700 worth out of it. If they wanted to give you $100 for it, you should have taken the $100. And so then I started pointing out to her, I go, imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I go, if you would have taken $100 for each one of these 10 items, you would have had $1,000 in your pocket today. She couldn't see past it. So she didn't sell a darn thing at that garage sale. And when we moved out of that house a few years later, she still had a garage full of all her crap from 1970s because she wasn't willing to part with it. She was holding on. I mean, to have a memory attached to a magazine is beyond. You cannot, it's beyond me. I couldn't, it didn't compute. It did not compute because I'm like, okay, I get it. It's great that you saved this recipe from 1979. Have you ever made it? No. She'd laugh. And I'd say, okay, are you ever going to make it? Maybe. Okay, well, let's cut it out or tear the page out and you can put it in a binder or something. I don't really want to tear the magazine apart. I mean, you know, I could never do this for I could never be one of those people who help people declutter because that's what I wanted to do to her. I mean, it was just crazy. I'm sorry, I'm reading comments. I apologize. Susan said she's the one with the old salad dressing in the fridge. Hey, you're not alone. When I heard that, years ago when I heard that, I went to my refrigerator and I sure enough had a 2-year-old Italian dressing sitting in my refrigerator. It's very common. It's like the number one thing that most people have that's expired in their refrigerator. Oh, thank you, Marietta. Oh, you guys are so sweet. You guys are so sweet. Ernie left. He's in Florida. He'll be back Thursday, though. I have a very busy week. Very busy week. I'm almost overwhelmed, but look what I did to help. I did my Easter menu and I did my shopping list. So I'm doing ham, green bean casserole because it was requested. I'm going to make potato croquettes, deviled eggs, a layered salad, I think, a veggie tray, corn on the cob because the littles love corn on the cob, mac and cheese, rolls, and for dessert, I have carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, and that's it. That's all I have. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to add to that. But I have my grocery list. So what I do is I just make my list, and then when I write something down, then I write what it is I need for that item on my grocery list. So I'm very organized in that department. So I have that I have to do, and I'll probably start cooking on Wednesday. I'm going to get the croquettes done because that's a process. And I'm going to get those in the freezer. And then I can make like the green bean casserole. I can do a lot of the stuff early, get the corn on the cob ready to go in the pot to boil. I saw a recipe for crock pot mac and cheese. I'm not sure about that because I thought, how could I make the birds are just nutso. I don't know about that. Have you guys ever made crock pot mac and cheese? I'm not a mac and cheese maker. My sister makes amazing mac and cheese. I've just never made it. Oh, Costco mac and cheese. I may have to make a trip to Costco. Or Sam's Club. They're closer. No, I got to go to Costco. If you said the Costco one's good, I can't go to them and I have to go to Costco. Okay, so maybe I'll do that. Take some help from the store on some of the items. Anyways, I'm excited. It's going to be great. So anyways, that's great. I did that. So I have a very busy week, but I did really want to talk to you guys about that. I really feel like some follow-up needed to take place. So many of you guys have asked me about the garage sale. We made $260 or something like that. So it wasn't great. We didn't make $1,000, but $260 is better than no $60, right? And we got everything loaded up and taken to the donation. So I closed early. I was supposed to be open until noon, but I was done. I was done at that point. 7 to 10, we did 3 hours. I was done. It was cold and windy. And I was so tired. I told you guys, I crashed. My body crashed after that declutter of the home decor room and the garage. My body crashed. And then, tossing the gardening that I did, my body just crashed. Like, I literally could not keep my eyes open 2 days in a row. Matter of fact, my son and daughter-in-law and all the kids came over for dinner on Friday night, and we were having the garage sale, and I knew I had to be up early, and I was so tired, and they were leaving. It was about 10 o'clock on Friday night. They were leaving, and my eyes were burning, so I was doing this while I was talking to my daughter-in-law, and my grandson was going like this back to me, and I started cracking up. I was like, what are you? He was mocking me because my eyes were so tired. It was so funny. Tammy said she used to have problems getting rid of clothes and realized that she didn't have a lot of clothes growing up. And when my kids were growing up, I didn't have a lot either. I can relate to that. 100% relate to that. And that's a real thing too. Now, listen, I'm like that with food. So we always had enough growing up, but I have very real memories of not being like the other kids at lunchtime. I had very real memories of, days and days of just rice and beans for dinner. And then there were times I remember struggles financially. I remember going to the welfare department and getting our box of food. I remember some very hard times where food is, involved as a little girl. So as an adult, and when I had children, I always made sure that there's always been enough food. They've always had, what all the other kids had. And I'm like that today with food. I'm a hoarder of food and I like to cook it and I love to feed people. That's just my thing. And I relate that to my childhood with food. So I totally get that 100%. And I don't think that a lot of people relate issues they have today with their childhood a lot, and when somebody says they had the most amazing childhood and, their parents were so great and, all that stuff, like somebody just messaged me, one of you guys messaged me on Instagram about Easter, how Easter used to be with, your Easter dress and your hat and your purse, and your little shoes. And we got shoes when our grandma or our older sisters would buy them for us, our Easter shoes, right? And that was always an exciting thing, is to get your Easter shoes, in your Easter basket. And that was always an exciting thing when it happened for us. We didn't have that every year. So, I don't think a lot of people relate their childhood trauma, if you will, to their things that they do as adults, as we do as adults, and I think that, yeah. So, yeah. And a lot of people say that their parents were amazing. Not all of us had amazing parents, I'm sure my mom and dad, they tried their hardest to do what's best for us, but they didn't always choose us, and so, oh my gosh. So it's so funny you say that, Marietta, about photographs, because I have a big tub full of them, and I'm going to bring them down because my son's coming from Arizona. And then of course my other son that's here, we're going to be missing my son that's in California. I'm so sad, but, that's one of the things they love to do, is they love to go through all the old photos and just, remember this, remember that. They remember all the good times and everything. So, hey, Pamela, nice to see you too. So anyways, a lot of people don't associate the why they hold on to things. That has a lot to do with maybe childhood, I don't want to call it trauma necessarily, but I mean, I guess it is trauma if you're still hanging on to it, right, as an adult. But I'm like that with food, same thing. Clothes, I've never really cared about. I've just never really cared about it. I was never that girl who had to have the name brand. I've never been a name brand girl. I have name brand purses because Ernie has always bought me name brand purses because he's a sweet man and he likes to spoil me. But let me tell you about how much I don't care about and don't know about name brands, because my sweet husband many, many moons ago bought me a Louis Vuitton purse. And that Louis Vuitton purse, I don't know how much it cost back then, but I think that it's probably a $2,500 purse now. I can tell you it didn't cost that much back then. I don't know if the value is equal. Either way, he got me a Louis Vuitton purse. And I didn't know Louis Vuitton. I didn't know that it was a Louis Vuitton purse. I didn't know. It was the brown purse and it had the letters on it. And I didn't really care for it. And so I had a garage sale and I sold that Louis Vuitton purse for $15. Yes, I did. Every time I tell that story, every single time I tell the story, he swallows really hard. So somebody made out really good because I didn't know what Louis Vuitton was. I still don't care. I could care less. Oh, Elizabeth, thank you. You guys are all so sweet. I love you guys. I have the best YouTube people on my channel than anybody else does. You guys are all amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Brody. I appreciate that. Chris, Brody, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are so sweet. So anyways, I just don't, associate with any of that. I could care less about name brand clothes. Are not a big deal to me. I don't care. I'll buy it at Walmart. I could care less. It's just never been a thing for me, I mean, I like to look nice and look cute, but it doesn't have to be name brand. If I can get a cute top at Walmart for $5, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do that, and I'm going to wear it and I'm going to rock it. I love it. So, hey, Sarah, I'm getting my hair done on Wednesday. Looky, one of you guys commented that you could see my roots. I know, darn it. I went a little longer with my hair color because I just made it worse. Okay. Me and the grandson were out in very windy weather today. I did run a brush through my hair. Anyways, I extended my hair coloring appointment because I wanted it closer to my birthday and Easter. So I'm way behind. Oh, so anyways, I thought it was really important to talk about that. And that's why I'm here, is I just really wanted to follow up on that whole declutter. As it's fresh, all the feelings associated with staring at that in my driveway and realizing the anguish, the money, the head trip I played on myself with all of that stuff, and how I really let stuff control me is really what was happening. I think, and I honestly think that's why I haven't been upstairs. You know how I've always said that in my videos? I don't really go upstairs except to clean. I really believe that's why. Because if I went upstairs, I had to face the music.
Excuse me, Lisa.
What, my love?
If I tried the go-kart?
Yeah.
Oh, where are the keys?
They're in my in the green box on the shelf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Be careful, my love. Do you need me to pull it out of the garage?
No, I got it.
Okay, because my car is parked in the driveway.
Okay.
You can take the golf cart.
Wait, what shelf?
And the bookshelf by my bedroom.
Oh, okay.
In the little green box.
Okay.
He's gonna take the golf cart. Anyway, so where are you gonna go?
I'm just gonna drive around the neighborhood.
Around the neighborhood?
Yeah.
You're not gonna speed, right?
Yeah, I won't.
Okay. So, I'm nervous now. I'm glad I gave you the. He's talking to his girlfriend. On the phone, I was listening. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, I'm glad I gave you guys the nudge to declutter, but I was worried I didn't give you guys enough info. Is what I want my videos to not just be, look at me, I'm decluttering, yay! I really wanted to be an inspiration to you guys. Although I know that you guys probably didn't have the kind of decluttering I had, but it doesn't really matter. It could be just a tub or just a closet. It could be your attic. It could be, whatever. It could be under your bed, like I said. But you got to have a plan, and you got to figure out how that stuff got there. You really got to have a real knowledge of how that stuff got there. Because if you don't face that music, you're going to end up having to declutter again next year. It's just a given fact. And so I'm back to, sorry, I'm just watching him pull out the driveway. Tanya's going to be 63 on the 16th. I'm going to be 60 on the 21st. That's a day after Easter, right? Yep, day after Easter. So the big 6-0, but I refuse. I might not get out of bed. I might not get out of bed. Darn it. I'm a little depressed about it. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so I just felt like I didn't stress that enough with you guys about, just addressing the whole thing, because learn from me. That was probably the hardest lesson I've had to learn in a long time as an adult was, I really screwed up. And so now when I watch videos of, okay, I'm not going to say the name of the channel because God bless her. Okay. She has the means, obviously, to do it. She has the means. She's not married. She has no children. There's a channel that I watch, and I do watch her because she has great ideas, and she's fun to watch. But it's not realistic, okay? And you have to be aware of that. That's why I'm bringing this up. You have to be aware of the fact that some of the things that some people share is not realistic for everybody. It's not realistic for you. So when I watch her channel, I'm merely watching it for fun. You know what I mean? Watching her channel because I've got to see what extravagance she pulls out of her decorating hat today. And she does put a lot of time and effort into her videos. And well, you know what? I think I'm just going to go ahead and tell you who it is because I'm not saying anything bad. I just don't want anybody to think I'm talking bad about her because I am not. Before I tell you who it is, I want you to understand I'm not saying anything bad about her. What I'm saying is what she does as far as decor goes is not realistic because your everyday average person cannot do what she's doing. And I watch her channel because I know what goes into filming and editing and all of that. So I 100% appreciate the time and effort that she puts into her videos. And she has great ideas. She really does. She has a beautiful home. And she does a great job. She does a great job, and she's so fun to watch. It's just not realistic. So I think that there are some people out there that can watch a channel like that and feel bad about themselves. You know what I mean? They can feel really bad about themselves. I can't afford that. I think that's beautiful, and I can't afford it. I think that's beautiful. I'll never be able to create that. And I can see that. It's kind of like how I tell you Instagram for me, I think is a very toxic place. And it's why I'm not really active. And I actually had to make my Instagram private again. So if anybody has went and noticed that I went private, that's why. I think I made it private. I hope I did. Because I started getting all those follows by weird men again. So I deleted all of them, blocked them all. And then I went private. I think I went private. I hope I did. And I do that for a while. And then I go back to public to let you guys go to follow me. But it creeps me out when that happens. But anyways, that place is so toxic because it has these, and you guys have heard me say it a million times, it has these girls on there, these young women on there that have the perfect home with perfect kids and the perfect meals. Hello?
Hey.
What?
The golf cart's your phone's connected to the speaker of the golf cart.
My phone?
Yeah.
It's over there, baby.
Okay.
Bring it to me. Sorry, guys. My phone is?
Yeah.
Can you hear me here?
No.
Oh.
I was on how to turn off the Bluetooth.
My phone's on YouTube right now?
No, he's got the Bluetooth.
Oh.
Yeah. So I can
Oh, so
listen to
you
music.
can put YouTube on. I got you. I'm not YouTube.
Music.
There, I turned my
Thank
Bluetooth
you.
off. You got it. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. Anyways, so I'm not going to mention her. I decided I'm not going to mention her. She's got a great channel. She's fabulous. I'm just saying it's very much like how I feel about Instagram, how toxic it can be, because you have these girls that imitate these beautiful, perfect families and perfect lives and clean homes, perfectly decorated, and their kids are in the designer clothes, and they make these gourmet meals and all of the things. And us, people my age who've been there, done that. No, this is not true. This is not real. Unless you have nannies and cooks and maids and all that kind of stuff. It makes young moms feel bad about themselves. And I take that personal, because I have 2 daughter-in-laws who are great moms. And I have one daughter-in-law who just got rid of her Instagram altogether, because it's hard for young moms, because it immediately makes them feel like, what am I doing wrong? How come I don't have that? Or how come I can't have that? Or how come I can't achieve that? It's not reality. It's just not. So I guess a lot of that has to do with the viewer, the person watching. You're looking at YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is they're looking at. I guess a lot has to do with the actual viewer themselves. But, it's, I just feel like it's not talked about enough. So I think that if you're a YouTube junkie, you might be a person who collects too much junk, because you're influenced to do it. So I don't do a whole lot of collabs at all. I don't even remember the last one I did or why I did it. I think I'll do collabs like, I think the last one I did was for my daughter-in-law. It was the ceiling fan. And my daughter and my son and daughter-in-law, and I did like cabinet pulls for them, because those were good products. And if it's not good enough for my family, I'm not going to share it with you guys. That's just the bottom line. So I get hundreds of collab invites. I mean, I could show them to you. I get so many, and I just ignore them all. But I am going to be doing one coming up here soon, and it's ironic because it is something that Ernie and I have been looking at. We need for the garden, and once I start uploading garden videos, I get a lot of companies that reach out for, usually it's like sprinkler timers. And last year, somebody wanted to send us a gazebo. I don't have anywhere to put a gazebo. I do now, the country house, but I didn't then. I get a lot. So just so you guys know, I will only take items that I would recommend to you if I would use it, or my family, if I would recommend it to my family. If I don't share it with, if I wouldn't share it with them or buy it for them or myself, I won't share it with you. So, but I think that, a lot of content creators take a lot of things, which, is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. That's part of your payment, for doing the videos. If it's something that you really want in your home, of course, take it. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that we can influence people to buy a lot of junk that they don't need, is basically what I'm saying. And, so we have to be really careful with that. I think there's some responsibility as a content creator, and part of that responsibility is to follow up on videos of declutter to let you know, don't do it. Don't be an Anna. Don't pull an Anna and collect a whole room full of stuff you don't need, and garage full of stuff you don't need, because it was absolutely insane. Actually, I have the picture. I'll show you. I took the picture. I took a picture of the driveway because I put it on this. I don't know if you guys can see it. It might be blurry because it's, phone to camera, phone to computer camera. But I mean, it is blurry. I don't know how to make it not blurry for you guys. There's my bike. All that stuff. And then all that stuff. All that stuff was just cluttering up my life. All of it. Cluttered up my life. So it's all gone now. I don't have not anything left except for what I left on the shelves and whatever I decide to declutter, in the upcoming holidays. And I'm not going to allow myself to be influenced by YouTube to create videos that requires me to buy things to create a video. If I can't create a video with what I already own, other than disclaimer, the country house, because I don't have anything for that, and the things that I want to buy for the loft and the rooms, stuff that I don't already have. But as far as you know what I'm saying? But it's going to be very well thought out. So other than that, so I have to throw that in there so that somebody doesn't come at me and say, I thought you weren't buying anything. You know what I mean? So I absolutely am going to be making more purchases, but they're going to be well thought out and planned purchases. I'm not going to get myself in this rut again. I never want to have that feeling that I had staring at all that stuff, selling it, and then loading up what was left and giving it away. I don't want to ever have to do that again. And it was a hard lesson, a hard pill to swallow. And I think that a lot of people should hear that, because, it's not that I didn't get my money's worth out of the items, because I believe that I did. But you should never have more home decor than you have places to put it. You shouldn't. You should be in a position of, where am I going to put it? And if I choose to put it in a spot that already has something, am I willing to get rid of the item that this is going to replace it with? And, have a plan to get rid of it, because otherwise you just collect, right? You take the item, you put it on you remove the item that's there, you put it on the shelf, and then you take this item and put it in the cabinet beneath it. That's how you start collecting clutter. And so that's what I was doing in California, and I was really good at it. And then everything just went out the window. So I believe that, part of that you need to have, when you're decorating a room, you need to have a plan. It needs to take you however long it takes you, and like I said, I envy. There's one girl that we were watching her do her bathroom, 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮. I watch her for gardening, but she also does home decor too. So if you're not following her, go follow her. Let me find her so that you guys can see her name. 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮 is her name, and she's an Oklahoma gardener. But she also does home, like Renos. She bought Linda Vader's home. So they live in the same neighborhood. If you watch Linda, she's also a gardener. And so I like watching 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮. Okay. She's such a sweet girl, but I envy her. Her patience. That's what I envy, not her as a person. This is her, 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮. Can you guys see that? 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮, 𝓒𝓸𝓯𝓬𝓮. But I follow her for her gardening, but she also does things in her home. And so when she does her home renos, or like her home, she designs it. And she's very patient, and she's very good at what she does. And so I want to learn how to be that person. And I think that that's why I love this room so much, because I was able to do that in this room. And so when I walk in here, I don't want to change anything. I love it. I love this room. It's cozy. It's other than the screens are still there. Ernie didn't put them up for me yet. Oh, and the most exciting thing. Oh my God, I can't believe I did not tell you guys. I met the most amazing woman at the park the other day when I took my grandkids to the park. She was there. She's a neighbor. She lives in the neighborhood. And she has a daughter the same age as my granddaughter, and they were playing so well together. And so her and I were chit-chatting. She's going to help me with my candles, you guys. I'm so excited. So we were talking about being an entrepreneur and all this stuff. And she's the sweetest thing. And I was telling her about my candles, and I said, I feel so bad because I have these candles and I've been telling my audience about them. And I want to have this candle business, but I have a brain block on, I was telling her everything. She's like, I can totally help you. So she's going to help me because that's what she does. She's an entrepreneur. And so she totally knows how to do everything. So she's going to help me. And I said, oh my God, thank you. So after Easter, I'm going to connect with her and she's going to help me get these things launched. So that's coming soon. I'm so excited. And I feel like God put her in my path. You know what I mean? Like that was no accident for her and I to meet. And we talked about so many other amazing things, but I feel like God gifted her to be, like, here's somebody, you guys know I've had a brain. I've just talked to you about this. I have had my own garage-based business before, a home decor business. It got so big, so fast, I got scared and I shut it down. And, but when I first started that business, I made a lot of mistakes on the shipping part of it. And so what was happening was I was getting bills from the United States Postal Service and UPS because I had screwed up shipping somehow. So people weren't paying enough for their shipping. And I was having to pick up the slack. So I was losing money in the very beginning. I talked to somebody that helped me figure it out. Like I got somebody on the horn, talk about that. And we got it all figured out. But it's been a long time. And so I don't remember how to do it. And I guess I'm afraid that I'm going to make that mistake again. And that's what's stopping me, and so she's going to help me. And I'm like so grateful that God put her in my path because I'm so excited about that. Because there they are, 3 boxes of amazing candles. They're amazing and smell so good. But they're just sitting there waiting. So she's going to help me. So that's so cool. Good to go feed the wild birds. You're so sweet. You guys are so sweet. Yeah. So sweet. But anyways, so I thought that it would be super helpful to get on here and talk to you guys about, how to declutter, don't let your mind play tricks on you anymore. Just do it. Just get it done. Have a plan on what you're going to do with the items when you declutter it. And, really think about why it is that you created that clutter, because that I think is the key. How come it's here? How did I get here? And how did the space end up like that? That way, and you won't repeat it again. And, declutter it, but have a plan on what you're going to do with those items to get them out of your life, get them out of your house. Because otherwise you're going to end up moving clutter from one room to another room. Then you're just going to keep moving the problem around and you're never free of it until you're free of it. You've really got to come up with that plan. Otherwise it's too hard. So, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. But I just thought that would be super important to, to share that with you guys because it's fresh. I just did it. I just had the garage sale yesterday, and it's fresh. So I thought that it would be really important to, to share that with you guys and make sure that you guys, that the people that I've inspired to declutter their homes, that you guys are fully, you're doing it all the way, that I didn't leave you half-assing it, if you will. I think it's important to carry it all the way through, like from the beginning to the end. I just feel like I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you, because I didn't have to tell you, that this was a hard lesson for me and that it sucked watching all that stuff getting put into shopping carts, taken into a donation center that I didn't sell, the stuff I didn't sell. It's not really hard for me to let things go at a garage sale for money. That's not, even if I don't care how much you want to give me for it. That's me at a garage sale. I'm not trying to make $1 million. That doesn't bother me because I get to see the person who's buying it, and it excites me. Like one of the girls, okay, I'm going to tell you this. Two of the women, but one of the women was so fun yesterday. She put a theme together. It was so cool to watch her do that, because my garage was clean. So I had my chair sitting in my garage. And so she was pulling things out of all the piles and bringing them, to me and setting them down in front of me, as her little shopping pile. And it was a theme. And it was so cool to watch her do that, to put that together. And I said, wow, I can see that all together. She's like, I'm so excited. And that made me excited for her, because I know the thrill of that, how she was feeling. And if I could do that for her, I'm here for it all day long, And then one of my neighbors came, and, I have all those feet. We still have them. We didn't have room in the car to put that box. I didn't sell not one of them, not one. But I'm going to donate them. Hold on. Hello? Okay, I'm on. I'm glad you're watching me. It's my sister telling me she's watching me. I love you. Can I call you after? Okay. Bye. Love you. She's such a dork. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's my real life. Hi, sister. Thanks for calling. But where was I? She interrupted me. Oh, if I can do that, this is the last thing I remember saying, for somebody, because I saw the joy that I brought to her. Oh, that's what I was saying, the feet. That's still in the garage because we had no room for it. We're going to donate it to that place, or actually the Habitat for Humanity. We're going to donate it there because they would love that. But one of my neighbors came over, and the feet that I took off of my sofas, she was saying how she had a sofa that needed help, like more support in the center or something. And so I said, take some. She goes, well, can I just try them? And I'll take them. And if they don't work out, put them in the trash. I don't want them back. Take them. They're yours. Enjoy them. And then she asked for one of my little birds. She said, how much for this? I said, 50 cents. And I said, no, free. Take it. And she's like, no. And I said, you offered to let me come see your tornado shelter, because Ernie and I want to get one in our garage, and she has the one that we want. And I said, consider that payment for letting us come and look at your tornado shelter. So, if I can do that for people, I'm down. I'm down for it. But it's hard to watch it go in the back door of a donation center when you don't get to see the faces of the people that are going to enjoy it. It's a hard lesson, and I had to swallow that. And so I, wanted to make sure to share that with you guys, let you guys know it wasn't easy. Nope. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work, hard work to do that. It was mentally frustrating, mainly because I was beating myself up the whole time. It was oh my gosh, when I saw everything in the, oh, mind you, my daughter-in-law took a bunch of stuff and my neighbor took a bunch of stuff. So there was all of that, and so looking at all that stuff in my loft, that was hard. If you go back and watch that video and just really look at that video and really go to that point when I'm showing you everything, that was a hard lesson, and I didn't really talk about that, I didn't really talk a lot about that, but it was hard. It was hard to look at and realize, wow, you really screwed up, Anna. Like, that was a lot of purchasing you did not need to do, So I don't want to ever influence anybody to do that. I don't want ever want to ever let anybody think that that was easy to do, or that decluttering is easy, because it's not. It's hard. And, the hard parts that come along with actually getting rid of the stuff, the garage sale, which is wonderful, it makes you feel happy, but the actual donating of it, and it's not easy. So don't let anybody tell you different, because it's not. It's not as easy as going around your house with a laundry basket and throwing stuff in and saying, done, done, done. No, does not happen like that. I wish it did, the whole house. For me, the kitchen, that's an easy one. So because I keep my kitchen decluttered and neat and organized, if I go through and do like my, when I go and clean the drawers out and all that kind of stuff, if I notice there's something in my large utensil drawer that I haven't used, in a while, or whatever, I'll declutter that. But I did a kitchen declutter with you guys, and it was like boring because I didn't really have anything to declutter. Yeah, because that room is easy for me. It's an easy room. I just wish I wouldn't have got myself into that rabbit hole of home decor. So that's why it was important for me to come on and talk to you guys about that, because it's certainly not easy. And don't let anybody tell you that it is. I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm, it was super easy, because it wasn't. It was very hard. Yeah, absolutely, Sarah. 100. Like that woman, I'm telling you, she put together the cutest little grouping of things, and she was so excited about it. And they were excited, and it makes me happy to do that for people. Anytime you can put a smile on somebody's face, that's bonus, right? So that was fun. Yeah, Susan, a lot of people are excited for the country house, but I don't think I've been super clear on that. I think people are assuming, that we're in a super big hurry to do that house, excited to do that house. And we were going to take our time with it anyways, but we're even more so going to take our time, because I've slowed down, especially after this declutter. And a lot of people were saying, save it for the country house. No, I'm going a whole new direction in that house. That house is going to be a whole different direction than this house. So nothing that I would have, that I had in that room would have been useful in that home. Yeah, so that home is going to be decorated with purpose, and it's going to be different. So I'm not there yet. I'm still working on my gardens here, and I want everybody to be clear. We live in this house. This is our home. So this home is always going to come first before that house. And we are just as anxious as you are, don't get me wrong, but we want to do it right. We don't want to hurry just for the sake of making a video, and so we do have one garden that we want to plant first, but that's going to take some time, because Ernie's got to go out there and do the irrigation for it, and that's going to take some trenching and all of that. So we've I told you guys before spring started that the very beginning of spring was going to be super busy for us. And I proved that that is correct. It's been very busy for us so far. So finding the time to do that is, and we need to kind of it's almost like every weekend there's something, right? And then it's finding the time to do that is what we really need to do. But if you ask us, do you want to go do this project or do you want to go hang out with the grandkids? We're going to choose the grandkids every single time over that. That's just how it's got to be. So we're getting to it. I promise you. But it's just not high on the priority list because this is the home we live in. And I want to make these gardens beautiful. And even more so this year, I'm concentrating on it because this is the first year, I told you guys, where I'm getting to see my perennials come out of the ground and back to life. So I have so many things that have flushed back out of the earth that I forgot about. And it's got me excited to plant more of that so that next year I could have more of what I experienced this year. You know what I mean? And it's just made it more fun for me. And, like our figure 8 garden, the maple tree garden, I planted a bunch of flowers in there and I planted some perennials. I planted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 perennials in there. But I want to get more perennials in there, like around where I planted all the flowers. I want to put perennials, like tuck perennials up in there. And, I'm working on the magnolia tree garden, which now it used to be its own garden. And then I have the crepe myrtle garden. Now they're both one big garden. So, but still the magnolia garden. But now that garden, I'm tucking things in there and, and so I'm excited, more excited about the garden here now because it's already started and there's just so much. And like I said, I'm not Laura from the Garden Answer. I wish I was. And I wish I had a trailer of plants or a high tunnel out on a property somewhere where I could just go grab, a truckload of plants and take them out to the garden with my gigantic auger and put them and make beautiful gardens. Because let's face it, she's got the most gorgeous gardens ever. They're beautiful. And she's so knowledgeable, but she's got like the plant silver spoon in her mouth because her parents own a garden center and she's got that, account. I don't know the logistics of that, how that works, but with proven winners. So, she can plant anything she wants whenever she wants. And they're expensive this year. One flat of super petunias sun patience, sorry. One flat, $45. One flat. And you got 10 plants for $45. That's a lot of money, Thankfully, those just get so big and take up so much space, you really get your money's worth for it. But which is why I plant them every year. I love them because you get a lot of bang for your buck with those. But I really want to spend my money on perennials, which are not cheap. They're not cheap. So, you find more at the nurseries here. You find a lot at Lowe's and Home Depot, but there's a local nursery, Patterson's, here in Murfreesboro, and they're locally owned, and it's beautiful. There's that one, Martin's is great. It's really big, but more pricey. And then there's another one, I can't think of the name of it. That one is way out of my price range. That one is so expensive. But I like Patterson's because it is reasonably priced for everything. And the people there are so helpful. And that makes such a big difference when you're shopping for plants. To have people walking around, answering your questions, anything that you think about your garden or where you want to plant it, like I'm thinking about getting this and this is where I'm putting it. What do you think? And they'll sit and talk to you about it. You don't really mind spending the money on that perennial because you've gotten some education. They're the same people that we bought all our trees from and they came and planted them for us. It's just a really great nursery. It's, local, owned local, and we like to support local. So, but I do, occasionally find things. I just feel like every time I buy something from Home Depot or Lowe's, Other than the annuals, like the 𝓒𝓸𝓯 Vista bubble gums, or the 𝓒𝓸𝓯s in general, or I have got some of the Sun Vistas from them. I do believe I got some last year from them. But perennial wise, I feel like they come with disease, or they don't do well. I'm not really sure. And I think I don't know where they get their plants from, but I just feel like when I buy that kind of stuff from local growers, they just do better. So anyways, that's what we're concentrating on this year. And I really want to do that. My goal this year for this property was to create the new garden in the front. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to that. At the actual planting of it, I want to try and get to at least creating it, the no dig, just get that all done so that maybe next year, and let it sit over winter and everything, and then next spring we'll be ready to plant it. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to that. But Ernie really wants to plant that hydrangea hedge in front of the arbs in the backyard. So there's that. And then, there's a lot. And then we have the garden at the country house that we want to do. The first one that we want to do, and that's in front of the porch. That's the first one that we want to do, but we haven't really designed that one either. But there are some local nurseries to the country house that we'll go visit over there. And maybe we'll get some good prices, and we'll see what we can do. But the plans we have for the country house, is we have to really think about the design as far as where we're putting trees. You know what I mean? It's on septic, so we have to make sure that we stay away from the leach field with with trees. And we have to, there's a lot to think about on that property. We have to get irrigation ran because we don't live there. So we need to know that the plants are being watered, with the exception of us checking on them when we do go out and hang out at the house or whatever. But there's a lot associated with that house that needs to take place before we can start planting. The irrigation is number one. So we did hire a lawn service. He just mowed again yesterday. I shared on Instagram the first mow, and then he mowed again yesterday. I'll share that with you. He sent us a picture. Nope. Oh, let me show you. And it looks so pretty. Here we go. Look how pretty. Oh, look how this camera sucks. I want to tell you, that grass is green. I do not know. The colors are so bad, but he sends us pictures after he mows. I wish you could see this. The sky is beautiful blue. The grass has the lines in it. I mean, he does a great job. So we did hire a lawn service. So this is the second mow. They've done 2 mows on it. So that's wonderful. I'm looking. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, Shara. I remember when it was so cheap for I don't know the exact name of the arborvitaes, if there's I just know that's what they are. I don't know if there's a name attached to that for them. So because we had somebody buy them and install them when we had the backyard cleared.
Hey, Anita, my mom's on the way.
Okay, did you shut the garage door?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, my love, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if that has, and then the other are the viburnums. So we have so that was my vision. My vision is to create a room back there. I want that back garden to be a room. I don't want it to be a backyard. I want it to be a room. So that's what I'm trying to create back there. And it'll happen. It'll happen. It's just, going to have to happen at our pace, and I want to enjoy the process. I don't want to hurry it, I want to enjoy the process in doing that. But anyways, I got to let you guys go. My daughter-in-law is on her way to grab my grandson. I want to go spend 5 minutes with him before he goes home and call Ernie because it's 8 o'clock and he just arrived in Florida. So I'm glad that he made it home. But I did want to touch on that with you guys. So I hope that you guys got some info on, decluttering and, everything associated with it. I really wanted to touch on that and why you shouldn't be afraid to declutter, why you should declutter, because it feels so good to get it done, but it is a process. And I'm here for you for any questions or any motivation that you need. I'm here for you. I will help you out. I promise. But I just feel like I needed to kind of, let you know now that the garage sale happened yesterday, how good and how freeing it feels. I mean, I literally said to Ernie on the way home, I said, it's all gone. The clutter is all gone. It's all gone out of my life. I have no more clutter in my life, and it just felt so good. So I wanted to share that with you guys because you guys watched my videos and everything. And so it was important to me to share that with you guys because, you guys are the reason why I do what I do. And I also want to share with you that I am, let me show you, look how close I am to 18,000 subscribers. Do you see that? Do you see that? Right there. So exciting, 17,982. That's how close I am. I'm so excited. So excited. I wanted 20 by my birthday, but I'm okay with 18. I think that's pretty awesome. So very excited. And thank you so much, everybody that subscribes and watches my channel. You guys are so amazing. And thank you for always showing up to my lives. You guys are so cool. I'm sorry that the camera is so blah. I hate this camera. I want to look into a better one where it's actual colors, the actual colors of my house. Maybe one with the filter that makes my hair and face look beautiful that I'm on here. And so anyways, thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. And we'll see you this week. I'm not sure what day, though, because I got a lot to do. So, but be looking for a video. If you have your bell notifications turned on, you'll see me pop up when I upload. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.